it's a pleasure to introduce our final expense product called New Vista to you. I'm not sure, some of you may or may not be familiar with Prosperity Life yet. It's a newer company or newer name in the space, but I think you'll recognize maybe some of the member companies. So Prosperity is actually the parent company, and we have a group of member companies under us. SBLI USA was founded and based in New York in 1939, primarily selling through bank channels in the state of New York. Shenandoah Life Insurance Company was a pioneer in the final expense space out of our home office in Roanoke, Virginia. And SUSA was another subsidiary of SBLI USA. So together with these different member companies, we offer various products and insurance products and annuities to fit different markets and segments of the market. SUSA is the primary company you'll be familiar with this final expense plan. You'll see the SUSA branding on the application as well as the product material. And that basically lets us access the majority of all states. We do have the same product sold in New York under SBLI. It's just got a different name. But as far as New Vista goes, you'll see that SUSA stamp on it. We're an A-, excellent AM Best rated company. We currently have over $14 billion of life and health insurance in force. So a little bit about final expense just in general. Why do some folks, take out a final expense plan? Generally, these are your seniors. We market this product to ages 50 to 80, which we'll talk about in just a second. But what this does is it allows for an immediate, increase in the cash available after they pass for their family, who may be taking care of their final plans and expenses. This guarantees that their levels will remain fixed and they won't increase over the life of the policy. It's a whole life plan. It does build cash value over time. And it's a simple issue product. So basically, they're going to complete an application through one of our various methods, and we offer a lot of different methods to submit the application. And then we're going to run an MIB in-script check and kind of look at their medical history. So coupled with all that, usually you will get a decision on the spot upon completing the application through one of our various formats. So a little bit more detail about the product. Like I said, we issue the plan from ages 50 to 80, so this is truly your final expense market. We issue the face amounts go all the way down to $1,500. So if you have somebody whose budget may be very limited, we likely have a face amount that can meet that budget, all the way up to $35,000. So again, most typical final expense plans don't go up into like the term amounts, the hundreds of thousands. They stay fairly low so that they're affordable. The risk class is smoker distinct. We base it, it's an approved decline decision based on male or female race and whether they use cigarettes, tobacco or not, and we'll talk a little bit more of that. That's kind of one of the key features to this product is we really only look at cigarette usage only when we qualify them as a smoker or non-smoker. And then their premiums are going to be based on their age at issue, their age last birthday, whether they're male or female, and whether they're a smoker or non-smoker. And again, they will remain fixed throughout the lifetime of the contract, assuming they make their payments on time. Recurring premium, we have several options for billing. We do offer an EFT or a debit card option, so we can bill them each month to that, or if they choose to pay, by direct bill, they just want to write a check and send it in. We don't typically recommend this because it doesn't seem to stay on the books as well. Our clients seem to, just stick with the monthly payments better, so it's always good to get that set up on a recurring draft. So a little more detail about the policy. It does have a policy fee built into the quoting. So when you run the quote, it's going to include the $3.60 per month policy fee. That policy fee is commissionable, so that's good news for you as the agent. Underwriting, like I said before, it's going to be based on their answers to the health questions. And then, of course, we'll check MIB and prescription drug history check. We do use a height and weight chart, but what I think you'll find is that it's a fairly generous chart. So typically that doesn't create, a rated up situation. We do use Aptical for all of our underwriting as well as our technology options. So if you're selling over the phone, you'll see we'll go through how to sell the application, how to market the application through Aptical's voice signature process. Probably 95% of your calls are going to have a decision on the spot. But in the event that Aptical is not able to render a decision, it will be sent over to our home office, and our underwriting team will be taking a look at it and following up with you. The product automatically includes the accelerated death benefit feature, except in the state of California. So if they were to be diagnosed with a terminal illness and had a life expectancy of less than 12 months, this would allow them up to 50% of the face amount of the policy. To help pay for those medical expenses before they pass. The accidental death benefit rider is an optional rider. It can be added to all three plans as long as the client is not over the age of 74, because it does expire at age 75. So this product actually includes all three plan types. So there's a level, or some companies call that preferred, a graded, and a modified. Now, overall, all these plans work exactly the same with the same death benefit, accelerated death benefit feature. The rider is also an option on all three plans. All three plans go from ages 50 to 80. The only difference between the plans, of course, is pricing, because it's looking at their health conditions, and then how the death benefit pays out in the first 2 years. So assuming they qualify for the level plan, they're in good health, then they are eligible for coverage from day one, full face amount coverage. Now, if they've got some health conditions, then we'll go through which health conditions will rate them into graded or modified. And on the graded plan, they would get 30% of their face amount in year 1, 70% of the face amount in year 2, and then full face amount in year 3. On the modified plan, this works a little differently than a lot of other modifieds or return of premium plans. So we return 110% of their annual premium in year 1, no matter whether they have paid 1 month of premium or 8 months of premium. So essentially, we do look at their total annual premium. So, to keep it simple, let's say it's $1,000 annually. We would actually pay them a death benefit of $1,100 in that first year, even if they made only one premium payment. So anywhere in months 1 through 12 would qualify for 110% return of premium, of their annualized premium. In year 2, that number goes up to 231%, because 200% is 2 years of premium plus an additional 31% if they were to pass in months 13 through 24. And then, of course, on year 3, that goes to the full face amount. Now, if they've selected an accidental death benefit rider, which we always recommend, seniors of that age are quite accident prone, so this does add a good amount of benefit, and it doubles their coverage for, generally just a few extra dollars a month. Of course, it's going to look at their age and the face amount to determine the price, but generally it's a few dollars a month. Now, if they're on the graded or modified and they have an accidental death, they are eligible for 2 times the face amount in years 1 and 2 as well. So major benefit there. That's a great selling point. So when we talk about plan eligibility, whether they're going to get level graded or modified, we look at a few different things. We break our application into 3 different sections of health questions. And they would be declined if they answer yes to any of the Part A medical questions, which we'll look at next. So these are going to be knockout questions. If all the answers are no, proceed into the section Part B, and that's going to be your modified questions. So it'll ask about a few other health conditions. And if they answer no, you can proceed into the graded questions, Part C. And if all the answers are no, then they will qualify for the level plan. So again, it's just kind of a step-down approach, starting with the decline, going into modified, graded, and then if all of the answers are no to the questions, then they would most likely qualify for level. Again, always check your height and weight chart and the prescription list, because that can also change things. So let's just briefly take a look at the application questions. And the questions are exactly the same, no matter whether you're selling in a face-to-face situation with a paper application or using our e-application, or if you're selling over the phone. The Aptical interviewer is going to ask the questions exactly the way they're stated on the application. So there's no variance. So once you're familiar with how the questions are worded, you'll be able to kind of guide your clients into selecting the right plan for them. So let's just take a quick look at that first question about smoking. So has the proposed insured smoked cigarettes in the past 12 months? It doesn't ask about any other form of tobacco. So your occasional cigar users or, pipe smokers, smokeless tobacco of any type, vaping, cannabis, any of that's going to qualify them as a non-smoker. Again, they're only looking for cigarette usage in the past 12 months. So that's a yes or no question. That's going to determine which rates they qualify for, their smoker or non-smoker rates. You're going to go with the height and weight, checking the chart there just to make sure that it's not rating them up just for height and weight purposes. And then you're going to move into Part A. And again, these are your knockout questions, and these are pretty typical knockout questions. So if you're familiar with final expense applications at all from other carriers, these are going to look pretty similar. So have they been hospitalized in the last 30 days? Are they receiving hospice or home health care confined to a wheelchair due to a disease? Or if they're waiting for an organ transplant, they would not qualify. Do they require human assistance with their ADLs? Their daily activities such as eating, dressing, toileting, etc. Within the past 12 months, have they been advised to have a diagnostic test, such as any kind of diagnostic test to look for a condition? So if they've been advised to do that, or it hasn't been started, or they don't know the results yet, that's a yes, and they cannot qualify at this time. If they're on oxygen or receiving kidney dialysis, if they have been diagnosed with AIDS or HIV, if they have Lou Gehrig's, ALS, cirrhosis of the liver, stage C, Alzheimer's, dementia, all those are knockout questions, or if they've had more than one occurrence of cancer. So again, if they've had only one type of cancer in the past, they can't answer this question, no. But if it's been more than one, then that would be a yes answer. So hopefully we get through all those with no answers, and we move into Part B, which is our modified questions. So it asks, in the past 2 years, have they been diagnosed or received treatment for the abuse of alcohol or drugs? If they've been, any kind of counseling or health facility to receive treatment for alcohol or drug abuse, that's going to be a yes. They would qualify for modified. If they have complications of diabetes. Now, just to draw your attention to this is the only question regarding diabetes that we ask on the entire application. And it only asks if they have complications. So your normal, typical healthy diabetics that are insulin controlled or oral medication controlled, they're going to qualify for a level plan. But if they have complications, and that, maybe neuropathy or retinopathy, any of those complications due to their condition, their diabetes, then they would qualify for the modified plan. Heart attack, stroke, those types of things, any of your major medical issues is going to qualify for them for modified. And then we're going to skip and we're going to ask a 3-year question. So just make sure you're paying attention. In the past 3 years, has your proposed insured been diagnosed, treated, or prescribed medication for any type of cancer? So this is your cancer question. If they've only had one type and it's been in the past 3 years, or if they're still receiving treatment, then they're going to qualify for modified. And then we're going to go back to a 2-year question. If they've had more than one conviction of reckless driving or for DUI or DWI, then they're only going to qualify for the modified plan. So moving into Part C, hopefully at this point we've gotten all no answers. Part C is going to ask about conditions, and this is going to be ever. Have they ever been diagnosed, treated, prescribed medication? So this is a lifetime look back. For Parkinson's, lupus, sickle cell, cirrhosis, stage A or B, chronic hepatitis, liver, kidney failure, chronic kidney disease, COPD, that's a big one in the senior market. We see a lot of COPD, emphysema, black lung, bipolar, schizophrenia, the only 2 medical conditions we ask about, or if they've been hospitalized for a mental disorder in the past 2 years. So once you become familiar with these questions, when you start talking with your clients, you'll get a good feel pretty quickly for which plan they might qualify for. So just a few highlights, just to recap there. The underwriting is very diabetic friendly. Again, most of your diabetics are going to qualify as level. Something I hadn't mentioned before, but we do pay the same commission on the level, the graded, and the modified. Most of the other companies out there, you're going to take a haircut on commissions if they're a rated up plan. not with the Prosperity New Vista plan. They're the same commission level. Whatever your commission level is, it's good on any plan type. We do pay daily. You can choose to, have your payment delivered weekly or monthly if you don't want to be paid as often as daily, but we do offer it as frequently as daily. We can take the Social Security Direct Express card. We're one of the few companies out there that will take Social Security. Now, we don't advance on any type of plastic card payments, but we do accept them if that's all they have. We can align, we do offer Social Security billing, so we can align their payment date with their actual Social Security deposit, whether that might be on the 1st of the month or the 3rd of the month, or if they're on one of the Wednesday bill dates. We can set it up to coincide so that when they get their deposit, their New Vista payment will come out, premium payment will come out on the same day. So all of those coupled together with the peace of mind knowing that you're protecting your clients with an A-, excellent AM Best rated company should make it a pretty easy sale for you. So I just want to touch on the options for taking an application. This is, kind of just an overview of the process, and I know that there's some of you who may primarily sell, over the phone, and some of you may be writing in the field, face-to-face with your clients. So we're going to go through all of them. I'm going to use the New Vista Voice, so the telesales process, as the primary example, just to avoid duplication, and then I'll kind of highlight where it might be different. But overall, it's very much the same process, no matter which application type you choose to use. So as I mentioned before, we use Aptical and their web portal to process all of our applications, unless you're just writing face-to-face and using a paper app, and we still take those too. But electronic applications have really become far and above the most popular option. So we have an e-application. That's an instant decision, doesn't require a third-party phone call if you're selling in the field and you're face-to-face. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. But for those of you selling over the phone, or for those times where you just can't get to an appointment because of bad weather or your client says, I'm not feeling well, how about we just take your application over the phone? It provides a really nice backup plan, and we offer this to all agents. So we start, when you get contracted, you'll get a link to your Aptical web portal. It's a user-specific login, so you'll have your own set of credentials, and we'll provide those to you in a welcome email. And we'll direct you to the web portal, and the little web address is listed up here. But again, you can't log in until you actually get contracted and get set up in the portal. Telesales are not available in Maine or Pennsylvania. However, we are making strides to get our e-application approved in Pennsylvania. We're working on that right now. But for the time being, those are the two states, as well as New York. I know we might have a few people in New York that just don't offer the telesales for New Vista. So once you get logged in, you'll see a few menu options at the top. You'll select the application menu option, and then you'll drop the box down and you'll see a few options there, and it'll say new application. So when you select new application, it's going to provide you a few more drop-down boxes to choose from. The company will always be Prosperity Life-SUSA New Vista, so you'll see the product name out beside that company. And then the product type is going to determine which application type you're selecting. So for this example, we're going to use the New Vista Voice, which is the telesales process. But if you were face-to-face with your client, maybe using your iPad, you would select the New Vista e-application. And then select your state that you're selling in, or that your client is physically located in. And next, it's going to take you right into the rate calculator. And this is where you're going to just rerun that quote. You've likely already done this just to kind of pre-qualify. But you're going to run the quote, give it the date of birth. The draw date here, the premium date, you can leave this blank. You can just leave it at no draw date. We actually don't pull the billing information from the rate calculator. We do it later in the application, so you can just leave that as no draw date. It's going to pre-fill their age, so you just verify their age is correct based on their date of birth. You'll select their gender, smoker status, and how frequently they want to make their payments. You'll select the face amount and whether or not they want to take that accidental death benefit rider. The rider amount must always match the face amount, so you'll just make sure that both of those boxes match if they are taking the rider. Once you hit calculate, you're going to get 3 options, and sometimes you have to just pull this little scroll bar down to see all 3 options. And then based on their health conditions, you'll select the level, the graded, or the modified. And then once you get that quote, if they decide, you know what, let me think about it, let me come back to you. Sometimes that's going to happen. Just click done. It'll close the application, and it'll close out. It won't actually start a new application, so you don't have to worry about anything. But if they're like, yep, that sounds good to me, I'm ready to proceed, you just click the create application, and you proceed right into the question. So it's going to ask a few basic things like, is the proposed insured the owner? Is there a separate owner or payor? It's going to ask about replacements. Just to point this out, if they are replacing existing coverage, you are not able to use the new Vista voice process. So if they do decide to replace a policy, they would need to basically do that in one of our face-to-face methods, either via paper app or e-application, but there would be a face-to-face meeting required. With the new Vista voice, it does require that you provide disclosures, specific disclosures to the client. And in some states, it's only 3 of these 5 that are listed here. Some states require 4 and some require all 5, so it just depends on the state. But your application will be smart enough to know what's required, so you'll just look at the title of the forms. We store these forms on our agent portal, so you just download these and email them to your client ahead of time. Now, if they don't have an email address, that's okay. Don't worry. We can still proceed. You'll just select that no, they were not emailed ahead of time. And what's going to happen is when they get on the call with Aptical is going to play some recordings. So they'll listen to the disclosures via recording. So it gets a little boring at times, but if they have that email address, then it's always handy to go ahead and email ahead of time. But like I said, it's not required. So from there, you just move into their basic, name, address, social, demographic information. A couple things I will note: they must have a social security number. If they don't have a social, you are not able to proceed with the application. And they must be either a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident with a green card. It's going to ask you just to confirm the face amount that you're applying for and whether or not they're taking the accidental death benefit rider. It'll confirm the premium amount for them. And then it's going to ask if a future draft date, and this is where we get into some of the billing options. So if you do want to set them up on a specific draft date, you would want to select yes that a future date is requested. And the initial payment can be up to 35 days in the future. So that gives you a little bit of lead time if they need to set their payment up for the first of the following month. That's usually you can get that set up no problem. So just keep in mind, from the date you're completing the application, they've got 35 days to make that first payment. So, and some of them may be like, nope, I'd just like to go ahead and get this placed in force, so please bill me immediately. If that's the case, you can select no, and it will draft upon issuance of the policy, and then the draft will just recur on that date each month. So if they are selecting a particular day of the month, you'll just select yes, and then you'll just want to key in the date that they want that draft to start. Now, you will have several options here based on the type of billing that they want to do. So if they're doing the Social Security billing, of course, you'll want to select, whether it's the first of the month, the third of the month. There'll be a specific option there to select Social Security billing so that we know that if that falls on a non-business day, we'll actually draft them the day before. So just a few more selections to confirm the premium mode, how frequently, who gets the notices, automatic premium loan, that's a yes or no. We always, just recommend you say yes to that just in case there's a lapse situation. You don't want them to lose their coverage. And then we have several options for payment of premium. As I mentioned before, we can set up an EFT draft to their checking or savings account. This screenshot's a little bit outdated because it actually will it'll say savings or checking now. So EFT to checking or saving, we just do a recurring bill based on the routing and account number information. We can take the Direct Express MasterCard, or we can take a debit card tied to a checking account. So not a prepaid debit card, but a debit card that's actually linked to a bank account we can take. It's going to ask you to fill in the account information, whether it's the debit account or the EFT. So you'll just fill that in and move forward. You're going to go ahead and fill in their beneficiaries' information as much as you can. Name, address, and just first and last name and relationship is what's going to be required. If they don't have beneficiary information on hand at the time, that's okay. We can always add it to their account later. Customer service is always able to make changes. If they want to change a beneficiary or just get more detailed information on file, the more we have on file, the better, because, come claim time, we want to make sure that we can find those beneficiaries. This application will allow you to add up to 3 primary beneficiaries and 3 contingent beneficiaries. And like I said, that can change once they get the policy issued. If they change their minds, that's okay. We can take care of that. So at this point, you're almost finished with your new Vista Voice application. So you're just going to provide your agent certification, just restating that everything you've submitted to this point has been true, and the best of your knowledge, that no replacement is involved. All of this information will actually pre-fill for you, so your agent number, email address, name, telephone number, all this is going to fill in for you, so you don't have to retype it in. The system's pretty smart. It's got your information stored. You'll just want to confirm its accuracy, because over time things can change, so just want to make sure it's accurate. And then any final comments you can add. There's a little comment box here if you just want to let new business know something special, whether it's maybe relationship of a beneficiary or any special comments, you can just add right in that last box before you submit the application. So in the new Vista Voice, at this point you're going to hit finish. You're going to submit the application. It's going to give you a telephone number to call Aptical. So this is going to be a 3-way call to Aptical between you and the client and the interviewer. And it's going to populate your application ID number. You'll want to give that to your interviewer once they pick up and let them know you have a new Vista Voice case to complete for Prosperity Life. They will pretty much take over from here and guide your client through the rest of the process. Now, if you're doing the e-application, pretty much everything up to this point is exactly the same, except now at this point, if you're face-to-face using e-app, it would actually populate the health questions. So at that point, you become the interviewer, and you ask the health questions and record the client's answers. So on the voice call, they're going to go through, they're going to ask the health questions, validate the entries, some of the entries that you've already entered, like they'll ask questions like, what state are you located in? Did you meet with your agent face-to-face? So they'll just answer the questions, and then they'll proceed into the health questions. They do conduct a customer identity check. So this uses a program called LexisNexis, and basically it's looking to verify the accuracy of their first name, last name, address, and date of birth. Social and date of birth. And if any of those pieces of data comes back as inaccurate, you'll get a notification whether you're on e-app or on the voice call. And basically, Aptical is going to let you know that additional information may be required to process the application. And what that means is you're going to need to collect documents that verify the identity. So a lot of times this is as a result of just a miskey, just mistype the, date of birth or social or something like that. So it's very, very important that you double and triple check your data before you submit the application. Because once it's in there, it's pretty much, you can't change it. Once it's been submitted and finalized, you can't go back any further. And so you would need to obtain a copy of the driver's license or social security card. The system will prompt you on what's going to be required. So just a heads up on that. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen from time to time if something's not right. What we see it a lot is when, let's say you have a female client and she got married or divorced or changed her name for some reason and then forgot to do it at the Social Security office. It's going to pop up basically with a message that says, the last name didn't verify, because it's looking at information stored in the Social Security Administration database. So that's just one of the things that you can be aware of before going in, and then if you know how to, address it, it's not a big deal. So Aptical is going to go through all the health questions, and then they're going to check MIB and prescription check, and based on those results, if everything aligns, then they will give you the approved decision right on the spot. Most of the time, you're going to get a decision at the point of sale, almost always. Sometimes they might have to re-ask a question. That might happen if your customer's taking like a dual use medication. So it's going to basically re-ask the question associated with that medication to verify why that they don't have that condition, that maybe that medication is treating something else. So that's not uncommon. That does happen sometimes, and that's okay. Just make sure your client understands the question and that they can answer it properly. Try not to interject. Once you get to the applicable interview, they don't like when the agents try to help. They pretty much want to let your client do it on their own. Now, if the underwriting decision comes back, let's say graded or modified, and they were applying for a level, expecting a level premium, applicable can re-quote and reduce the face amount to meet the budget if needed. They can do that on the spot, so you don't have to do an amendment later. So that's a really nice feature. So if all goes well, everybody signs via voice. They just apply their voice signature to the application. Everything is recorded, and the completed application just gets sent over to the home office, and we pick it up the next day and start processing. So just a few minor differences with the e-application. Like I mentioned before, it all runs through the same portal. You would just select the e-app versus the voice product. It'll allow you to go through and select the answers to the health questions. So you'll basically run through all the health questions, answer them yes or no, and then the underwriting software that's built into the e-application will do the MIB script check and then render the decision on the spot. So from time to time, you might get a re-ask. So the question may repopulate and you'll have to re-answer it. That will happen just like it would in the voice interview. As well as sometimes, you're going to get a decision that's different than what they applied for. So at that point, if you want to go back to the rate calculator, reduce the face amount, and rerun the quote, then you can do that to meet their budget if you need to. A couple of things to note with the e-application. Again, it's access to the same exact web portal. However, you do have to use the Google Chrome browser. So if you're using a tablet or an iPad, a lot of times Google Chrome is not installed up front, so you just have to download and install the Google Chrome, and then just log in like you would normally. So just a few things to note on e-application. It basically works just like voice. It's the same exact steps, so they will do an identity validation check. If something doesn't check out, you'll get a message on the e-app that says additional documents may need to be provided to new business, and new business is going to let you know when they get that application what they're going to need from you. Proposed insured will electronically sign, so all parties to this application must be present. So if you've got a proposed insured and a separate owner or a separate payor, those parties must be present to provide their signature. So everybody's got to be there in the same place. With the e-app, replacements are available, so you can replace a policy using the e-application if you're meeting face-to-face. And then once you get your decision, everybody's happy, you submit the application. Our home office will get it the following business day, and usually takes about 2 days for us to process and actually issue that case. So if at any point in time you need to return and reopen an application, maybe you couldn't get all the way through it because somebody had to stop for one reason or another, go collect information or whatever, you would just go back to that application menu and then do search applications. And then you'll get some filter options like shown here. What you'll want to do is just at least fill in one of these boxes so it has something to look for. And I always recommend just use the company search option. Just fill in SUSA Prosperity Life, hit search, and then you'll see a list of all the applications you've submitted show up. Under the status, if it says closed complete, that means it's been sent to the home office. So you'll see the name, the date you did the application, what state it was in. On this side in the real portal, it'll actually say whether it was level, graded, or modified. It will give you the decision. But if it says in use, it means you still got that application open. If it says pending, that means that something is still pending with it. So it may be pending, the telephone interview or what have you. So as long as it says closed complete, that's how you know that it's been submitted. So we do have a couple other options. Our Aptical Mobile works kind of the same way as the e-application. You would just download the actual mobile app to your smartphone or your tablet, either way, and log in with the same user credentials provided in your welcome email. You'll select Live App Air is going to be the option to complete the application. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to Ask for a copy of your client's driver's license. So you'll just snap a picture front and back of the license, snap a picture of the check that they want to use to set up their EFT. And what it's doing is it's pulling in all that data so you don't have to key it in. So name, address, all that information on those 2 items will pull in to the application, and then you'll just spot check it to make sure it's accurate. And then Aptical will actually call you directly. So from your smartphone, just turn your ringer on once you've submitted this first piece of information, and Aptical is going to reach out and they'll call you. They'll go through the medical questions, and then they'll provide the decision. You'll see a pop-up asking for signatures, and your client can just sign right on the cell phone. So if you're selling in the field and all you have with you is a smartphone, you can still write the new Vista plan. It's a really neat process. Same basic, telephone interview. They're going to go through the health questions and just verify that they've received all the documents. And, it's a little bit easier because everything populates right there on your phone or your tablet, whatever you're using. And then they'll just issue that decision on the telephone call and submit the application electronically. We do have a little demo video on our web portal if you ever want to go out there and see how that works. It's a really neat piece of technology. And then last but not least is our paper application. So, sometimes we, just want to go back to the basics and actually complete a paper application, and that's fine. You can still do that. So you'll just download the paper application from your agent portal and, fill it all out. You'll want to make sure that you've got your client's photo ID before you call Aptical to do the health interview. They're going to ask that you've, verified identity. They'll go through the health questions with them and then provide the decision. Now, regardless of the decision rendered, you just need to make sure with the paper app, since it's not being submitted electronically, that it is sent to our new business department. So even if the client decides, they get declined or they decide they don't want the application, you still have to fax or email that to new business. So hopefully they get approved, and you'll just fax or email that application in, write that Aptical ID number they gave you. That's basically your reference or approval number. Just jot that down on the application and send it on over. So I'll put our agent support line. We are on the East Coast, so we're in the Eastern time zone, available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So you can call us during those business hours or email our agent care email address if you have questions as you get out there in the field and start selling.